All right, welcome in once again, E4 peeps. So in this video, I'm going to be covering what you're going to be working on for the interview question prep piece that I have lined up for you guys for this week. Last week, just as a kind of review here, just so you know why we're moving into this piece. Last week we did some research on the different companies that we'll be interviewing for in your mock interviews. So just as a kind of a reminder, you'll be interviewing with American Eagle, In-N-Out Burgers, Starbucks, and Target. And so last week you did some research around each of those companies, like what the position you're applying for, like what the responsibilities entailed, what each company's like culture and core values are, and their history or their story and their involvement with the community. Now, the reason why we did that is really leads into what we're doing for today and doing for this week. But the other reason why we did that is because that's how you really show a genuine interest in a company, when you have kind of this background knowledge about them. And that just shows to the person who's conducting the interview, who will be hiring you. It just shows to that person that you are really into that company, what they stand for, what they do, and you'll be a great representative for them as an employee, for their brand, for their customer base, all those good things. So, we did that last week, and moving into this week, when you go into your mock interviews, you will be asked specific questions that are related to the company. And so taking that research, what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to take that research that you just did and then formulate some responses to some questions that you might get in an interview that are specific to each of those companies. And that's what this is all about. So I've got a cool video posted up here for you guys. We're not going to watch it together in this overview, but I was just Googling and I thought, okay, what can I find for my students about, what it's like to work at In-N-Out, and as kind of like maybe like what an interview might be or whatever. I don't think she covers specifically what her interview was like. I think there are other videos that you could Google, for all four companies. I'm sure you could about each of these companies. But what I thought was really interesting, she does a really great job in her video, by the way. A couple other videos that I found weren't as good, so that's why I also picked this one. But the other thing that I thought was super insightful from her video was she talked about her process of getting a job at In-N-Out, and I thought that was really, really great. And there's some great information that she reveals about what it was like working at In-N-Out. So all of these things you can like just kind of process and digest in thinking about how you would interview and the types of responses that you'd want to say. So that's why, that research piece that we just did was so crucial. Now, here's the deal. I know you did that, all that research, right? And it's not for nothing. Okay. I want you to know that, like, you're not just going to file it away and, just not do anything with it. Okay. Because that's what I'm hoping we do. We'll use some of it for this piece today. And it's just going into essentially your toolbox for having a great interview in our mock interviews. Now, here's the deal. You won't be able to prepare for every single question that is going to get thrown at you. And I know I've mentioned this before when we've done common interview questions, and the same is true here. You're not going to be able to craft responses and go into an interview and get those same exact questions and be able to rattle them off on the top of your head. It's possible you might get a couple of them, but the point of all this, right, is all in the prep work, And I do feel like there's potential for 3 questions that you will get, that are like some of the more common ones. I know we've talked about, tell me about yourself as being one of the most common interview questions, but I also feel like the 3 essential questions that I've got lined up for you in terms of for this piece are things that I think are very, very likely, the questions are very, very likely that for you to get. And so I want you to be able to take your research that you did for each of these companies and be able to craft responses with that information in mind. So that way you do have that confidence, you have that preparation going into an interview, and so you do it well. Like, you answer these questions really, really well. And I think to some degree these questions are pretty broad, and actually two of them are. They're pretty broad, but they really go at the heart of why you did all that research. So and no secret here are the three questions, right? Why do you want to work here? Okay. Like, if I was a manager, I'd want to know that. If I was, hiring somebody, like, tell me about yourself. And the second question I might ask might be, well, tell me about your strengths or weaknesses. That might be my second one. And then I might follow that up with something that's a little more hard hitting. Like, why do you want to work here? Why did you pick In-N-Out? I want to really know that. Okay. And then another question, and maybe this one, maybe not so much as that first one, the other question is, what about our company interests you? And in other words, what that question is really getting at is, what do you know about us, right? What do you know about us? And why are you excited to work for us? Okay. And that kind of goes, I know, like, in some ways you might think 1 and 2 are very, very similar. Okay. You've got to figure out how to differentiate your answers for those two things, because, number one might just be, I'm looking for an opportunity in food sales. I really like what your brand stands for and your customer service. And I feel like I'd thrive very well in that type of environment, like something like that. Right. And then number two, if you get asked that question, it allows you to talk about what you know about the company, right? But then also speak about yourself, right? So if you value teamwork, if you value, customer service, friendliness, being outgoing and all that kind of stuff, that's where you can talk about yourself and then say, that's what really interests me about your company. You guys value your customers, you value high quality service. And I feel like I can really provide that. And to me, that just shows that you guys have a great organization, and I want to work for an organization that really believes in its core values, right? Like, you could say something like that, and that is totally cool. So you want to be able to, set yourself up for those types of things. So that's what this whole thing is about, this piece today. So you're going to take the research that you have, and then you're going to answer basically 3 common questions that you might get as it relates to each of those companies: American Eagle, In-N-Out Burgers, Starbucks, and Target. Okay. So I've got some things lined up here for you guys to help you out with this, right? If you remember, go back a couple of weeks when we learned about how to answer common interview questions. Like some of those common interview questions, what was the interviewer after when they asked that question, or she asked that question? And how should you respond? Like, how should you formulate a response to that? So we're going to come back to that. We're going to revisit that piece, right? But when we did it the first time, I had you just imagine kind of a job that you would like to go out and get an interview for and go to work for, right? Now what you're going to do is you're going to answer those questions specifically for each of the 4 companies that you are going to interview for. So that's what the purpose of this Google piece is. What you're going to work on is to craft those responses for each of those companies. So that way you have something in place that potentially you might get asked in the interview, in the mock interviews. Okay. So the key here, though, and I'll stress this a couple of times before we sign out of the video here. The key here is, some of you will be thinking, well, I don't have any desire to work at Target, or I don't have any desire to work at American Eagle. Maybe it's all 4. Maybe you have no desire to work at any of these companies that we've picked for you. Okay, totally get it, right? Everybody's different. Maybe everybody has different preferences, and these are not the places that you'd work for. Okay, cool. No worries. I understand that. Okay. But here's the deal. Doesn't matter, because those are the 4 companies that we picked. So, and this is all practice, right? Practice, practice, practice. We're using these as practice pieces. Okay. So you have to put yourself in a pretend mindset, right? If none of these companies interest you, that's fine. You don't have to go out and apply to them. I'm not telling you to go apply to any of these companies, right? But for this, for what we're doing, for our mock interviews, okay, you are pretending that you are interested in each of these companies, okay? So when you craft your responses, put yourself in that mindset. Put yourself in that mindset that you are interested in working for American Eagle, that you are interested in working at In-N-Out Burgers, that you are interested in working in Starbucks, and you are interested in working in Target, okay? Because I don't want to see in your responses, well, I'm not really interested in working in Starbucks, so I don't really see how this question applies to me. That will not fly, okay? And that will not do well for your score in your interview, okay? So just pretend, okay? Pretend that you are actually going for that job for each of these companies. Okay, so remember how I said we're going to go back to those common interview questions? All right, so the 3 questions you're going to be answering for each of these companies, and I'm just going to jump in and show you what this looks like in the Google Doc first. It's a table just like the last one that we did last week, okay? It's divided up, American Eagle, In-N-Out, Starbucks, Target, and all of them have the exact same questions. Why do you want to work here? What about our company interests you? Are there any questions that you have? Okay, so how are you supposed to answer these questions? Like, what's the strategy? What's the formula for answering these questions? What are some examples that I can use to answer these questions? So I have pulled up here. Go back to our common interview questions here. I've got these linked up. So I've got the 3 different resources here that are going to help you and show you how you are supposed to answer these questions. Okay, so for the first one, why do you want to work here? What the interviewer really wants to know, how to answer, why do you want to work here? Okay, look at this tip right here, right off the bat. It says, spend some time researching the company. The About Us section of the employer's website is a good place to start. Imagine that. Isn't that crazy? So guess what? We've got some examples of best answers, how you should approach this, right? Okay. So what this question is after, right, is how do your characteristics, your skills, your mindset fit with their company culture or who they are, who they represent? And that should be kind of at the forefront of why you want to, work somewhere, right? And so here's the other. So this question, you're going to notice that the question is, what about our company interests you? Okay. The resource goes to, what do you know about our company? So remember earlier, just a little bit ago, I just said, this is what this question is really after. So this is why I've linked it to this resource. Okay. I want you to assume that the way to answer this question is to answer it in this, for what do you know about our company? Okay. If you notice right away, come down here and look, boom, research the company. Now, I just can't stress that enough, right? So look down here. Examples of best answers. Look at this one. Volunteerism has always been an important part of my life. Look how it starts off with a sentence about the person, right? About me. An example set for me by my parents. When I was researching potential employers, I was impressed by your company's long-standing dedication to community service. Look how it transitions to, this is who I am. This is what I stand for. This is what I'm into, right? And then looking at what your company stands for, looking at what it brings to the table. This is why I'm interested in this company, okay? It was exciting for me to learn that your personnel can use up to 7 days of paid time to volunteer. And I also loved learning how everyone pulls together once a year to sponsor a charity golf tournament. It would be great to know I was working for an organization that actively gives back to our community. Remember that research piece? Remember the one little section where I said, where I have you guys research what does the organization do or the company do for the community? Look how this answer ties that into community, right? Super smart, really great way to think about answering this question. Obviously, there's other examples here as well. Okay. But this whole piece, right? Like you have to kind of balance between like why you want to work at a place and advancement of your opportunities and your skill sets and what you believe to be the best option for you, right? And then what the company stands for and the brand and how that relationship works really well, right? Like how you can best represent the brand. And in some ways, I think everyone should take a job or or work for a company that they can believe in, right? That also aligns with their values, aligns with how they see the world and all that kind of stuff, right? Because you will be happier that way. You will be happier working for a place that you feel aligns best with you, okay? And I know in our mock interviews, you're not getting the chance to really explore all those different options. And I'm sorry, I wish I could do that. But in order for us to really like make it simple and, like meaningful, I just have to kind of pick 4 different ones. But when you're going out there thinking about looking for a new job, these are the things that you should be thinking about, right? And as we're doing these mock pieces, now you know how to talk about it. Now you know how to like respond or answer to questions in this way. Even if you have no interest in working for Starbucks or American Eagle, any of those things, right? You can go through this exercise or this practice doing kind of those same things if you were like actually going for a job that you would like to get, okay? So just think about it in that way. And I know I've already talked about that, but I got to emphasize it a couple of times. The last one, how do you have any questions for me, right? Again, go back to what you researched. And is there anything that stood out to you that you'd like to learn a little bit more about in terms of what the company offers or what the company stands for? Okay. Sometimes you can just create a generic question about training or, evaluations or, things like that. That's fine. But totally think about asking a question that relates to the company as a brand or their image or their core values, things like that. Okay. Because that is also really smart and shows how engaged you are with who they are and what they're trying to accomplish as a company. So review these are here for you to help you obviously answer those questions. After the first one, like after you go through and do American Eagle, you probably don't need to go back and review each of these like every single time, right? But what you will need to do is go back to your research. Go back to your research in that last piece that we just did, right? I'll pull it up here. Hang on just a sec. So the company research piece, right? And go to your Google Doc. And I don't have it here. So let me pull it up in my drive. So go back to that Google Doc, right? Open it up in your Google Drive. And I have it in a careers folder. And it is called... There it is. And I think it's that one right there. So go back to this document, right? And pull out the things that you learned about American Eagle, about their culture, their community involvement, right? Like review this document, and then as you have this open, right? Think about how you can leverage what you learned about American Eagle and how you can tie it into your skill set, your personality, your characteristics, things like that. Okay. Because that's how you do this. That's the golden ticket to getting the job. All right. Again, I'm going to come back to this. I know I'm being repetitive. Sorry. I know I'm being repetitive, but again, final word. Okay. Keys for success. Okay. Pretend that you are interested in working for each and every one of these companies. Okay. Even if you are not, even if you don't see yourself applying to any one of these companies, pretend that you are. Pretend that you are interested in working for each one of them. And why is that? Again, practice, practice, practice. Okay. But on a more pragmatic side of things, check this out. This is how you're going to be evaluated on your interviews. Okay. You're going to be evaluated on your performance. You're going to be evaluated on your communication skills. You're going to be evaluated on all the things that you would be evaluated on going into a job interview. Okay? So the better job you do in these prep pieces, the better job you'll do in the actual interview, right? And you want to be wow factor. You want to be excellent in your communication skills, because that is going to get you the job. It's also going to get you the good grade for these pieces. And this is what we've been working for, the coup de grace, right? So nail it, right? Do a great job on these pieces, and I guarantee you'll do a great job in your interview. That's all I got for the rest of this week. You're going to have the whole week to work on this. Like I said in the overview, if you need to spend a little bit of extra time going back to that research piece and completing some of those things, obviously you need to do that before you finish this, okay? Mock interviews, right around the corner. Right around the corner. Just remember that, all right? Set yourself up for success by being prepared for them. I'll talk to you guys later. Have a great afternoon.